Welcome to Mav Sports Take, episode 70. Sorry, a little delay here if you're watching us on YouTube or on Twitter. We're your weekly sport podcast for sports, business, and a whole lot more. Here we tackle the business of all the news that you hear about and a lot that you actually do not as well. Tonight, David and I will be welcoming our guest, Mike Riddleman, Director of Scouting and Player Personnel for the College Gridiron Showcase, to talk this weekend's CGS and the players that will be showcased at the event. After that, we'll have Double D herself from social media and podcast fame to talk about the Antonio Brown situation. We are super excited to have both of these guests. We want to thank everybody out there in Twitter land, in YouTube verse, wherever you are listening to this podcast. We're interactive. If you would like to put a question into the chat, we are here all night, whether that be on YouTube and Twitter. We appreciate everybody and all the support. And I would also like to ask if you could rate, subscribe. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review. We would greatly appreciate it as this podcast continues to grow. Before we get into what we are going to talk to Mike and Double D here at Maverick Sports Consulting, we would like to ask you to follow, subscribe, and take the chance to interact with us on our Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and other social media platforms. We are a company that is all about helping to maximize your opportunities in front of you and your career. The only way we can support you is if we hear from you. Your takeaway from tonight's show should be that if you interact with us, we will find a way to help you in your career path. Reach out and we could do a Mavs episode on the topic of your choice, or we could circle back with you to help you with some individual attention. Don't wait. Reach out today at Mav_sports and all your social media platforms. And at Mav_sports is, of course, the man I'm sitting with. 18-year scouting vets across the NFL, CFL, including three straight Arena League championships with the Arizona Rattlers in the front office over there. Mr. David Turner. David, as I start off every single week, how are you, my friend, on this 70th episode?
I am pumped for today's episode. I'm not even gonna lie. I haven't been pumped like this in a while. Last few episodes, you and I have just been kind of on here doing our thing, which is incredible, which is fun. We have a great time doing it. But tonight, we are going to have two of the top guests that you can get talking about. First off, leading on with Mike, we're going to be talking about, this upcoming college postseason pre-draft episodes that go on, and Mike's, what you're involved in, the College Gridiron, showcase is what kicks it off. And we're going to talk about the uniqueness of it, as well as who's invited, the standout players, why the NFL sees so much benefit in it. I'm going to talk about it, why I used to love going to it and all that. And then boom, here comes Double D, Tiffany herself coming in, right? She's going to come in, talk about the AB situation from a social justice media style perspective, giving our clients, our customers, everybody out there a different perspective on what has already been said from, Stephen A. and Shannon and everybody else who's commented on it. I really believe she's going to deliver a different perspective on what happened with AB. And then obviously you and I will weigh in on all of this. So I am pumped. I'm excited for everybody tonight. Again, if you have a question, put it in the chat. I have the TikTok live on the phone. So if you're one of our TikTok friends and you're on my profile, go do it on TikTok. I will see it and I will put it up for us to talk about. So we are live all over social media, baby. We are bringing it to the people tonight. How are you, sir? Fresh from Florida, looking a little tan going on there?
Yeah, man, it's the Italian skin, I think I feel good. I look good. You know what I mean?
I cut the hair for tonight and everything.
Well, I'm excited, David, because we've had Mike on a couple times before. And like you said, it is kicking off draft season. Literally, this is the first all-star event of the draft circuit. And I also am one of the scouts over there for the College Gridiron Showcase, my first year. So I'm excited to get down to Fort Worth. And I'm really excited to be able to talk later in the show about the Antonio Brown situation just in general, because me and you have not chopped it up about Antonio Brown yet.
We haven't talked about it either way, so this is going to be fun.
And I haven't put my 2 cents on Twitter, which is uncommon for me. So literally, I don't know what you're going to say about it. You don't know what I'm going to say about it. But of course, we want to start us off because draft season is officially upon us, man. I am pumped as we kind of see, down the stretch here, Detroit Lions against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who's going to secure that first pick? If the Jaguars lose, it's theirs. They win and the Lions lose, then it's vice versa there. So exciting times. We're going to pull up Mr. Mike Riddleman here, good friend of the show, Mr. Mike Riddleman, the Director of Scouting and Player Personnel for the College Gridiron Showcase. Mike, I think it's your third time on the show. Thanks for coming back, man.
Oh, thanks for having me on, guys. David, thank you for the great introduction. That was awesome.
Well, I had to do you justice because Ryan wasn't going to do it.
Absolutely not. No.
I just want to know if to be part of the college gridiron showcase, do I have to have my hat backwards like you two? I mean, you guys look like twins here tonight. You guys got white hats backwards.
Oh man, that was a smack in the face.
You
looking like
you guys. I mean, you guys look like BFF, best buddies forever.
I would like to say I saw Mike behind the scenes here before I let him on the screen, and he did not have the hat backwards at first, so he is trying to be me right now. I would just
here we go, Ryan. Yep, starting it off with a slam
Mike, you can't wait for the College Ground Showcase, man. You can't wait to meet me in person, get a few drinks. It's gonna be good times, man.
It will be a good time. No, I'm excited for it. Ryan's done a phenomenal job with us, bringing a level of expertise in the media realm and also in the scouting realm, has made our scouting meetings better with his background. So, it's been great. And
you're welcome. You're welcome. I taught him everything he knew.
Oh, wow. Nice. Awesome. Okay.
Stop that. All right. Mike, we don't have it for very long, so we want to kick off the questions in a second. We got Gladys in the chat saying yes. I guess she's very pumped up, as is David, for tonight. Continue those comments in the section if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter. So, Mike, I really have enjoyed my time working with the College Ground Showcase because for me, it's a lot different than I expected, to be honest. It is a much different format, and I think there's a lot of different kind of layers to the game a little bit. So talk to me a little bit, and I know that you've been on here and you've kind of talked about some of the differences, but for you, what are some of the things that make the College Ground Showcase unique and different than maybe some other all-star events?
Yeah, so I mean, I think first and foremost, we don't have an actual game. And, from that vantage point I think the NFL and CFL teams, and correct me if I'm wrong, David, from your experience and everything, you want to be able to see individual drills. You want to be able to see the body type of an athlete and then see how they move in between drills and during the drill itself. Not in a game type setting, but in certain situations in practice, 7-on-7 inside run. But give an example of Indy position drill for a defensive end. How is he moving? How is he bending? What's his strike like? Is he able to change direction with ease? And I think that's where CGS comes into play, where we have ample individual time and there's really no time limit on that. And I think the teams want to see the underlying core values of a player during practice.
Well, and I agree with you when it comes to that. I mean, what I've always loved about the CGS was that you gave us practice type drills at game type speed.
Yep.
So therefore, because usually you go to a practice and people are doing inside run, but it's tame. It's almost a glorified walkthrough
just
these days.
Getting there, right?
Right.
It's a little bit of a business decision. Yeah.
Right. It's not like it's not like back when I got in and we did goal line defense and we had Strahan and Barrow and Hammer and all those guys going right at Tiki and, Fossil did 3 live reps every beginning of every practice. Okay. People were down there just mashing each other the first 3 plays of practice. But in your drills and at your event, which I loved coming in and witnessing, again, you got the one-on-ones with the DBs and in the secondary or the receivers, right? You got linebackers, you got the running backs, tight ends. So you get to see, and again, it's unfair for the defenders in a lot of those drills, right? Yeah. But at least you get to see, like you said, their core values, their hip flips, flexibility, their burst, their competitiveness. So from a scout like myself, when I'd come, I'd be like, dude, I get a lot out of this event to be able to go validate my report about a kid that played a certain amount, or maybe you guys like Ryan and you dug in and found some guys that maybe didn't have enough play time, but we get to value a little bit more of this live practice to make an argument for a 6th-round pick or a undrafted free agent or somebody down the ladder. It really helps us validate what our initial opinion is of a player.
Absolutely. Right? I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that. And the ability for us to take, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, I think we have 325 players plus coming in, over 300, let's just say. The ability to have those many good quality players, that are moving the needle in some way, shape, or form, whether it's NAIA, D3, D2, FCS, FBS, or even international players at the Canadian colleges. I think it's the ability to bring those quality players in and see what they can do. So I mean, I'm excited. We've been going since August on this, and I'm excited to see it come to fruition on this week.
And I mean, speaking to the layer of how many players, I think the other cool thing is like a lot of people just think of these events as an NFL event, but like there's CFL football, there's
Absolutely.
the ELF overseas, there's potentially the XFL coming back, the USFL coming back. Like there's a lot of opportunities for these players to play professionally. It doesn't just end all be all with the NFL. So I think that for scouts of all levels of the game, I think that this is a perfect event for them because they're going to see some guys that are overshadowed, guys that are coming from anything from the FBS Power Fives all the way down to NAIA. Like there's a lot of possibilities for a lot of different players to play professional football, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And, the USFL is coming in and the XFL is going to be there. So, I mean, a lot of eyes are going to be in Fort Worth over the next week. And, the best thing is we tell players you're going to get an opportunity to be seen, and that's the best thing you can say to someone. You have an opportunity to be evaluated.
Now, when you've been now, how many years have you been doing this? What year
This is going to be year 6 for me.
Rate this roster of these 300 so players coming in compared to years past.
Wow. Wow.
Hot seat.
Man, David, coming at me quick, man. So,
quick. I gave you 2 warm-up questions. I mean,
man.
Solid.
Last year's roster, was with the 12 NFL draft picks. That was great. I would rank this top 3. This roster top 3 of my 6 years, just because the overall depth of it. Again, you can't predict how many players are going to get drafted, how many, but I think the quality of the talent coming in, and for example, I think the defensive line class coming to CGS this year is impressive. Looking at the DNs, the edge guys, the interior guys. When I mean interior, like how I like to classify it is, okay, from a 0 technique to maybe a heavy 5 technique, those guys can play along the front. Rashad Nichols from Stephen F. Austin. My man is playing defensive end at 300 pounds. Like that, the athleticism, the strength he shows. I mean, that's a guy that
double-digit sacks too for Stephen F. Austin. So he's a dude,
So that's like the excitement. That's the type of player I'm looking to see. And the key thing I tell everyone is we look for versatility. You be able to show more than you can provide. I mean, with Rashad, he can play anywhere, like I said, from a 0 out to a 5. That's great for the next level. That's showing teams, okay, he's not just stuck to one place. But I'm really excited about the D-line group. The tight end group this year is intriguing to me, and Ryan can attest to that. I think you have some size with the athleticism to back it up. A guy that comes to mind is Clint Sig from Lindenwood. I'm very excited to see how he produces. Can he be an inline guy? Can he be flex out as well? And can he do all these things? So, again, the talent's there. I would rate this top 3. I know a long-winded answer, but top 3 in my 6 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, you led me right into my next question because we already talked. I mean, we wanted to ask a little bit about the international aspect of it, but we talked about that a little bit, right? Like, there's different leagues, different locations outside of the United States that we're talking about, and I know we have a lot of guys from Canada coming down and all that good stuff. But we wanted to ask about some guys that you're excited about. You mentioned a couple. I will start you off here, Mike, because you mentioned the defensive line with Rashad Nichols, and we got. Guys like Don Peterson from Nevada, I think, is still coming down, and a bunch of really talented.
He is actually going back to school.
Oh, he's going back to school. Okay. Well, even then, still have guys like Jared Brakeman from Northern Iowa. You
Yeah.
still have guys like Elijah Garcia from Rice, who you talked about, a guy that can play anywhere from a 0 to a 5. Like this dude is David verified in the spring at 6'5", 300 pounds, clean weights, and 34-inch arms. Like we talk about the extension to be potentially a 4i 5 tech working against the round blocks.
That's Calais Campbell style like numbers right there. Calais is actually only like 287. So yeah.
Yeah, so he's a guy that literally at Rice, they would play him anywhere on that defensive line, and actually kind of hurt him a little bit because they were two-gapping him a ton. And then this year they're finally like, okay, let's take the shackles off a little bit. Let's let you rush the passer, and he led the team in sacks. And that's just kind of how that works. And he's a guy that I think is kind of falling through the cracks. And we got guys like Kevin Atkins from Fresno State, who's been a very productive player, and Damian Daniels, who's a 340-pound nose tackle out of Nebraska, Tyrone Truesdale, who started at Auburn, at Florida. But the position that I'm really excited about, Mike, that I want to take you to for a second is the offensive line. Yeah. I think that this might be from start to finish, at least looking at the Wranglers group, the main showcase kids, this might be our strongest group, to be honest, even going into like the Desperados, because you got guys like Lewis Kidd from Montana State. You got guys like Jordan Tugger from North Carolina, who David verified in the spring at 6'6.5", 352 pounds with 35 3/4-inch arms, my friends. That is a big boy. And then going into Desperados, and I'm going to let you take it away here in a second.
I'll bet you that kid plays better than Leatherwood. Just saying.
Well, I don't know about that one, but we'll talk about that later. Dylan Cook
very
from
talented
Montana.
players. Say that. Two very talented players, Leatherwood and
Oh yeah. Dylan Cook, though, is my guy. And, I just want to boast about him for a second. I'll let you take a couple of these offensive linemen. But Dylan Cook from Montana, David, I'm telling you right now, I have no idea. I still don't. Why this kid isn't getting talked about enough. You want to talk about a crazy story, David? I'm going to give you a really quick one. Ready? This kid started at Montana State Northern. I didn't know there was a Montana State Northern. Let's start there for a second, okay? Division II team, apparently?
Yeah.
Quarterback. Now the starting right tackle for Montana at 6'6" and 5/8, 309 pounds, clean. Little bit of shorter arms. He's going to move inside the guard. Dude has some silly raw power in his lower half. Played against Kayvon Thibodeau, who everyone loves at Oregon a couple years ago. Nice game against him, man, even though he has only 32.5-inch arms. Like he's not going to be a right tackle at the next level. Well, a guard inside.
Robert Gallery coming out of Iowa only had 32 and a fourth arm. So I'm just saying, he moved in the guard, like you were saying.
Yeah, exactly. So Dylan Cook for me is a guy that I still don't understand why there's no buzz about him outside of the College Ground Showcase, because I love the kid. But Mike, if any of those offensive linemen that stick out for you, I know I kind of talked a lot to set this one up for you, but I'm excited about the group, man, to say the least.
I mean, first of all, you never talk too much, Ryan. So I don't know where you're.
I know that. I know. You don't have to. I know.
Absolutely.
I don't know how you guys get through scouting meetings with him.
Oh,
they're fun, David. They're fun, man. They're
on a women of prayer, David, and on a women of prayer.
A lot of Vicodin is all I'm saying.
Hey, man, I say tight-lipped in those meetings. Okay, I don't
like Pez.
Well, going off that, first and foremost, Jason Poe for me from Mercer. I think. First of all, being on Bruce Feldman's freak list, I think he has the athletic ability to play multiple positions, center or guard. That's going to be maybe a little bit of a transition because he's been a guard for most of his career. But the true athletic ability, and when we had him on the other day, Ryan, on the roster reveal show, he said he was looking to run a 4.8 40 at 300 pounds, which I don't care.
Insane.
I don't care what anyone says. If you're running a 4.8 at 300 pounds, that's impressive. Shamarius Gilmore from why am I blanking? Georgia State. Thank you. 50 over 50 career starts, and a 5-time All Conference kid. And I've been reached out by teams, wanting to see if he can get some center reps. I'm like, absolutely. I mean, that's the beauty of the College Gridiron Showcase. Going from a tackle perspective, I'm interested to see David Curl from Delaware. Big size, heavy hands on the games I've watched. I want to see if he has the flexibility to transition in and out of his pass sets. But that's a guy I'm looking to see. Isaiah Edwards for Indiana State.
Big boy.
Enormous as a guard. So that's a guy I'm looking to look at. And going back to the Wrangler group, Josh Seltzner from Wisconsin, third team All-American, first team All Big Ten, big, massive kid, 6'4", 320. I'm just ballparking it there. I don't have the verified numbers up, but like,
Yeah.
he produced this year, and that's the type of kid that we're getting at CGS. Like the accolades are coming down, especially the offensive line position. The history of offensive linemen coming from Wisconsin. So I'm excited. I think Ryan up front, it's going to be a show to watch on 101s with the offensive defensive line at CGS. So I'm excited. I could talk about this all night long, but it's an hour program, right?
Hey, man, and like you said, a lot of these offensive linemen and these defensive linemen we're dealing with are very versatile players. Like you mentioned, a couple of those guys, I want to see them work inside a little bit. I want to see them play multiple, because we're talking. Because at the end of the day, for people that don't know too much of a college grind showcase, we are dealing with day 3 to UDFA type players.
Absolutely. I mean, that's our bread and butter right now. I think we found a niche in that aspect. And I correct me if I'm wrong. There was a stat out last year. I saw that the NFL is comprised of mostly late round and undrafted free agent type kids. You still need, the type of players to build a team around. And then, the Senior Bowl, the Shrine, the PA, they do a great job highlighting those are the top 100 to 150 to 200 kids, but there's still a whole bunch of other prospects up there that you can build a team around and build.
Well, the math goes, most years there's about 253 to 257, depending on compensatory picks, draft pick. Now, after the draft, there's nearly 300 to 350 kids signed, because each team will sign anywhere between 5 and 12 undrafted free agents. So again, the need for your type of showcase really impacts a lot of these kids, like you said earlier, ability to move the needle one way or another. Either you're going to go and show out and you're going to move my needle as a scout to get on the table and fight for you in those situations, or you're going to move my needle down like, ooh, I might have overwrote that guy right there. He got his butt kicked. But also, I remember years ago, there was a game called Texas versus Nation down in Texas. I went down there and I saw this offensive lineman, and he started the day at right guard. Then he flipped over to left guard. Then he went and played center. Then he played right tackle. And I'm like, who is this sumbitch? Like, who the fuck is this kid, right? And I didn't know who he was. He wasn't from my area. It was just one guy that was just really impressive. Well, TJ Lang wound up playing in the NFL.
And was a very good player. Very good player.
Very good player.
At the time, he didn't have any invites or anything. He went to Texas Nation and he made an impact for his name. And I went back to the Raiders and I told our offensive line coach, who will not be named because I don't want to embarrass people, to look at him. And he told me he was too small of a school. Yeah. About 3 years later, he goes, "You had it right. I was wrong." And I was like, next time you'll listen, because that's the way it goes. But also in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, after last year's draft class or inductee class, there are as many undrafted free agents as first round picks now in the HOF. So, games like yours and people like you who are committed to these young men and their careers, I really take my hat off to you and applaud you, because a lot of them do become forgotten, I should say. And you know what? You're not letting them be forgotten, and you're not letting them be written off. And you've battled your ass off to get this to be a significant stop on our scouting road trip that we take in the off season here and leading up to the draft. So I thank you and applaud you for your effort, because I know it's hard for these kids.
No,
I work with them all the time, and it's hard for them to get noticed, like you said, and you gave them the showcase. So thank you for doing that.
No, I appreciate the kind words. I mean, most of the thanks needs to go to Jose Jefferson and Craig Red. They created this 8 years ago. I've been blessed to come along with the ride with them, but Jose and Craig have turned this into an awesome thing. And, I can't thank them enough for letting me come on and growing the role that I am with CGS and having the ability to bring on great people like Ryan on and really see this thing flourish. And I tell people this all the time. And football is a great community on Twitter and everything, and the scouting community and everything. Go out and network. Just go out and talk and learn. And I think CGS is turning into a great networking event for that, where you can learn about the game of football, different aspects from coaching or evaluation side. And, that's what I always take away with it. And I think it's a week of football and I'm in heaven, but, that's how I take it. And again, I want to thank Craig and Jose for creating this and creating CGS.
Well, Mike, you've been so cordial with your time. I think I just want to end us here with, I know we obviously have some great partnerships that we've been dealing with. So if you want to shout out partnerships and maybe
Absolutely.
For people potentially out there that maybe want to get involved in this game, support this game, like what are some ways that they can?
Absolutely. So the partnerships, Frog Fuel has been phenomenal. Dexa Analytics, Tracking Football, Mark and his team have done a tremendous job on our scouting staff, and Ryan, you can attest to this. The data Mark and his team bring out is phenomenal. Riser, with the TAPS testing and everything. How can you get involved? First and foremost, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Reach out, connect with us, and I'm on there myself. Jose's on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Reach out, connect with us, follow us. If you want to come down, if you're media, come down to the event, let us know. I know it's a little short notice, but just
is that a short joke?
No.
That's a 5-4 joke, sir.
That's a 5-4 joke right there.
Wow.
You're
on fire tonight.
Bring you on my show and you just threw a 5-4 joke at me.
Well, hold on there. Let's take a step back here, David. You're more like 5'8" to me anyway. So let's.
4 inches. That's good.
Well, I'm trying to be nice, Ryan. So, but no, please connect with us.
I almost made an inappropriate joke. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan. Wouldn't be you without it.
I'm excited to meet the Ryan Roberts in person. I don't know.
It's not that impressive. I'm sorry.
You never even met me in person. Shut up, David. You never
you guys cutthroat today on a Tuesday.
Every Tuesday night, baby. You got to listen to it. It's every Tuesday night. And we used to teach the scouting course together every Friday night. That's how we got to know each other. So
we had to stay professional in that one, though. We had to stay a little more professional.
We went back and forth. Are there any videos, evidence of you guys teaching the course out there?
We had I created a 25-week course, and Ryan and I put the whole thing together, and it's out there. Yeah.
Oh, phenomenal. I do want
somewhere. I don't know where, but behind some paywall somewhere. But that's another story for another time. Mike Riddleman again, Director of Scouting and Player Personnel for the College Gridiron Showcase. Mike, appreciate your time again, man. I will see you live and in person in a couple of days, my friend.
I will see you Friday. David, thank you again. Ryan, thank you again. And you guys do a phenomenal job.
Hey, Mike, come back next week and give us a recap of how it went. Deal?
Yeah, let's do that.
Phenomenal. Yes. Next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday night. Reserve it right now.
I'll be in Texas. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Live. Boots on the ground, as somebody once said. All right, Mike. Appreciate you, brother. Talk to you soon.
See you guys. Thank you.
David, I had to leave this up at the bottom. That's my dad, by the way. Who said
don't make me start in on the Dolphins, Mr. Roberts.
He took the course, though. He said it was good stuff. So shout out to the Friday Night Scout School lore there. So appreciate Mike Riddleman for popping on. Really excited about the College Gridiron Showcase coming up. We are about to invite Double D on. Before we do, Maverick Sports Consulting was created to help professionals in the sporting community to showcase their passion in a professional manner. Whether that is to help you when approaching an interview, create a social media marketing plan, or helping you prepare to take a Wonderlic test, we are here to help you maximize your opportunity. Please head over to Maverick Sports Consulting. Come find your advantage package today. So we're going to welcome on in just a second Double D, who is of social media fame Her TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube success are increasing exponentially daily, and her podcast show, The Real Tea with Double D, is a must listen as well. If you're on TikTok, I'm sure you heard her coin phrase, "Hey players," or my personal favorite, "I declare." Her social justice posts are things of legends, and her heart pours through the screen as she reports on current events. We are honored to welcome her. She is a Louisiana native, mom, wife, and content creator to talk about the Antonio Brown antics and mental health for athletes. Welcoming now, Double D, to the show. I know David has been beyond excited. Double D, this is awesome to meet you. How are you tonight?
I am doing well. How are you all doing? I'm excited to be here.
I'm fired up. You already know that.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you right now, David called me. What was it, yesterday, David? The day before? I forget what day it was. And he was like bursting at the seams. Like, I cannot wait for you to meet our guest. So happy. We have people right here that are already popping in. Yes, I'm ready. We got some energy in the room. Hey, playa. Yeah, we're in here. So, Double D, I need to start this off by because I know a little bit of, David's reaching out and all that good stuff. But how did David convince you to come on our little sports show with the following that you have with what you do?
Look, I was dumbfounded. Okay, so I made a video talking about Antonio Brown. Listen, I know nothing about football, okay? I'm just going to go ahead and say that I know nothing. In fact, on this video that I made of him leaving the field,
Yep.
I was talking at the end, and I was like, okay, so he plays for the Buck, and I was like, you mean, is that a Tampa, honey? I said, look to my husband to ask him, and then I completed it. And then he got into the comments, and he was like, hi, you're invited to Mal Sports Take. And I was like, me? Because I didn't, I was really clutching my invisible pearls. I could not believe that he invited me. So we kind of linked up from there, and I was excited to come on and try something different. Again, I don't know much about football, but I do know a little bit about mental health, and at least can try to analyze what he had going on.
Well, I love it. I love it.
What you were talking about was so. I love how every one of your posts is so genuine, right? Your heart just pours through the screen, right? Every time we talk. And like you turned to your husband, you're like, is it the Buccaneers? And I lost it. I was over here crying. I'm like, she's just too much. I just can't. Like, she's just too much. I can't with her. And then I was like, I gotta get her on Mavs. I gotta get her on Mavs. So I was like, let's just reach out and see if I can do it this way. And when you responded, I dropped my phone. I absolutely dropped my phone. I was just like, oh my gosh, she's responded.
Hopefully not in the toilet or something, though. Like, hopefully it was just on the ground.
Sicko. All right. And by the way, we are unmuzzled. You can say whatever you want, however you want, whenever you want. Don't hold back, just whatever. And by the way, I see that nice new hoodie. I saw the post today.
Thank
you got your nice new TikTok gear going. Yes,
I'm so excited.
Absolutely.
So
and
excited.
The only two requirements I do require tonight is that there's a hey player somewhere, and there is a
I declare. What a disgrace. He loves it. Look, I am so excited that you all invited me on. This is just great. I really love having conversations like this. And then I'm going to learn something from you all because I don't know much about football. In fact, I'm going to tell you a little secret. When you invited me and everything, and I'm like, I don't know anything about football. So I called my friend Ken, and I'm talking to my husband, and I'm like, okay, so what position does he play? And he said he's a wide receiver. And I said, okay, what does that mean? And he's explaining it to me or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so how do they determine who gets the ball? I don't understand. I mean, we went into this long thing, and then they finally told me, look, just cancel the show. You can't do it. So look, I was so excited when I talked to David, and he was like, well, you don't have to know that much. We're just going to talk about what's happening. So I was excited about that. So thank you all for having me on again.
No, we're excited and happy. So when you first saw the AB out, latest lash out, as I'm going to call it, the tantrum, okay? Mm-hmm. And what was the first thing that went through your mind? Because it's obvious you're not as vested in football as Ryan and I. So what was it that it caused you to want to post about it?
Well, it was just a flip out. It was unprecedented. I had never, although I don't know much about football, but something like that happening, if it was like an occurrence that happened a lot, of course it wouldn't have went, so far. I probably would have never heard about it. So I knew that this was an unprecedented event that had happened where somebody took off their clothes. First of all, when I heard about it before I seen the clip, I thought he got naked. And of course I wanted to go see that. Don't tell my husband. I don't hope he's not watching. But I was like, did he get naked or what? So I went and watched it. I was like, this guy, he's flipping out. What caused him to do this? That was my question.
And then once you dug in, because I know you said today, you said you dug in a little bit. Once you dug in, the way Double D does her research, because this woman does her research.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know you even involve family.
Yes.
I was told you involve family.
Absolutely.
So once you dug into it, what's your conclusion now on it?
Okay. So as we look at the history of Antonio Brown, I believe they call him AB. So as we look at the history, this is a consistent pattern with him where he's been getting in trouble. So obviously there's a shift, a change, or something that has happened to him, to me, or we could look at this in another avenue and say, is this diva behavior? So there's several things, okay, that I've learned. Of course, wide receivers, they receive the ball, they make the touchdowns, correct? So these are the people that are loved, like the quarterback and the wide receiver. They have to do the show. They have to do this. So this guy is he's probably been coddled and just given everything. You can look at it from this avenue and say, he's just being a diva. Something wasn't going right for him in that moment, and he's just being a diva. But what changes it for me is these outbursts that turn, where he's had these criminal things that have been going on, where he's had the fake vaccination cards that's been going on, just these different things. And it seems to be escalating at this point. You get what I'm saying? So there's an escalation there that's really giving me pause. So I'm wondering if he has some sort of disorder. And I tried to find, did he? But he's not diagnosed. Now, what I did find that in 2020, fans were saying that maybe he was bipolar because of all of this that he has going on. So he said that he was actually receiving mental health counseling. He said this in 2020, that he was receiving therapy. So what my question would be to him, Antonio Brown, is, you are a football player. You have wealth that we all don't have. You have resources that we don't have. Do you really want to get the help because you have the wherewithal to do it? You have the materials to do it. Do you want to do it? And it seems to me he doesn't. He doesn't want to do it. If he knows that he has an issue, because he's admitted it in 2020 that he's receiving help, he knows he's had an issue and he's continued to escalate since then. I don't think he wants to do it anymore. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think it's it's such a difficult conversation for me, because I think there is an extremely fine line before, like what you're saying, diva behavior, some type of mental disorder, because you nailed it. And I think we had a comment in here, actually from my father, who said that you have wide receivers down pat, because they are absolutely prima donnas. There is no doubt about that. And there is definitely that layer to it. But the weird part about his background a little bit is that he went to a small school, Central Michigan. He was actually a walk-on, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Then he was a late round draft pick. So like, he is a guy that hasn't been like, he's not like he was a top-notch recruit that was a first round draft pick that got everything, kind of like you're saying. So like, that's where I'm like a little confused on, like, is this diva behavior? Is this mental health? Because although he plays a position that is typically diva behavior, like we've seen guys like Terrell Owens in the past that like they wanted to make it all about themselves, but like they never took it to a point where they're putting their job in jeopardy. You know what I mean? Like, this guy literally just quit on the football team. And
the one thing about T.O. is he never took it out on the team.
Right.
Never, like, he did, when he was working out in the driveway and all that crap. I mean, that was
good times in Philly, man. It was good times.
Yeah, that was when, but he didn't take it out on the team. Some of his antics and stuff that T.O. did, it interrupted the team. Okay, but he never walked off on a field, a game. He was too competitive for that. Okay, so and Tio does have some absolute mental issues, but it started when his grandmother broke down and she passed away, because that was his woman that just he loved, and he would never embarrass her.
Yeah.
Once
Right.
she passed away,
Yeah.
he had a mental breakdown there. With AB, my take on it
Yep.
is he's absolutely nothing but a fucking baby. Okay.
Oof.
And he's an immature asshole.
Where does that
Plain
come
and-
from, though? Like, honestly, like, where does it come from, though? Like,
When he was in Pittsburgh, he had a deal
Yeah.
on the table that was going to pay him to be like the number 10 wide receiver. Wasn't good enough. And Pittsburgh's all about team. We're going to try to keep this team together. We're going to, that's the Pittsburgh way. We had Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger wasn't the top paid quarterback ever in his career, ever. Okay.
Yep.
He took less to build a team around him, to have an offensive line to do stuff. AB wanted top money, so they let him go. He wound up going to the Raiders. The Raiders paid him top money. They flew him and his son in on a helicopter to training camp and made a huge deal of this man. And then he got there and he pouted because it wasn't the offense that he wanted. It wasn't all the touches he wanted. It wasn't exactly how he wanted. Kind of reminds me of some of these basketball players, okay? And so then he wanted to, be let out. He bitched and whined until he got let out. And then he runs around on social media and said, "Mom, Grandma, they freed me. Grandma, they freed me." The reason he had to go, the only reason he went to mental health issues on 2020 was so a team would sign him. It was all a ploy. It wasn't that he wanted help, Double D. He went there to get a contract. And so he did it as a negotiation ploy, like, "Oh, I'm getting mental health. I know I have an issue." He never admitted it. He went to the Patriots for like 4 days. Robert Kraft met.
He never even played a game, did he? Did he ever even play a game? No.
I think he might have played him one, but yeah, it was very, very brief.
Robert Kraft met him one time and said that guy cannot be in a Patriots uniform. You can't do it. Right. Because of he was on social media and he hit his wife, and that was Robert Kraft. I don't want to be associated with this. I don't. It's not what I want. So the trail of this man's behavior and then getting rewarded, okay, to get a contract, to go win a Super Bowl, to catch a touchdown, to have a guy like Tom Brady vouch for him, and then to go on, and then again, like you said, Double D, he went on he had a vaccination card. He didn't pay his chef who turned him in on that one.
Yes.
Just said, "You know what? You're getting turned in. You didn't pay me." And so he's doing all this bad behavior, and he's been rewarded with contract after contract after contract, and he's living in Tom Brady's house. Gisele's freaking cooking for him. Okay.
Yeah.
And then he strips down half naked in the middle of the field and basically puts his fingers up at Tom Brady and the rest of the Buccaneers and says, "I'm out of here," when he knows they need him because Godwin, their best receiver, tore an ACL and their running back is out. This is a guy they need to win the Super Bowl. And he knew they needed him and he walked out on him. So that's why I'm going to be so hard and tough on him, because you know what? As a competitive individual, as Ryan knows I am, I won 3 straight titles. I'm a national powerlifting champion. I've done everything there is. I've been on teams where I've had to take a lesser role for us to succeed. You do what you have to do when you accept being a teammate and you get that team to where they need to be, especially this time of year. This time of year, when you only have like 4 or 5 games left, basically, if you go and you win in the playoffs, you got like 5 games to go. Anybody can do anything for 5 weeks. Anybody can do anything for 5 weeks. Just focus and get through the season and then figure it out. But no, he took a stage in New York and he quit in public in a biggest diva way. And he walked out, and then he stayed in New York and he went to the basketball game last night.
Yes. And he released a rap song. That's what I'm saying. He released a rap song the same night when it happened. And my problem with him is that it's just embarrassing. I talked to my nephew who played, his name is Byron. He played for SMU. And he told me about being on a football team is a brotherhood. You have an allegiance to your teammates. And for you to act out like this consistently, constantly, and the team is looked at negatively, I mean, this is just awful. So I just don't think, I think his career is over. And that would be my questions to you all. I think he's done.
Well, that's what I was actually going to lead you in to actually ask you, because honestly, like, we haven't seen, like you said before, we haven't really seen
Yeah.
this type of outburst, at least publicly. Because like I remember
Mhm.
Vontae Davis was a cornerback who quit in the middle of halftime in the locker room and
Mhm.
just went away. But like we didn't see that publicly, obviously, right? Until after
Right.
the game, you've kind of figured that out. But my question for you is like, is this worth saving at some point? What would it take to prove to you that he deserves another chance? Like, is there any resolution potentially to his career? Because he's a great player. I mean, he's a great player when he plays football. But
No, no. I mean, listen, you cannot have a toxic person come into the locker room where they have a brotherhood. I mean, come on, the man streamed their their locker room, without them knowing about it. And the coach, you remember he did that. He
yeah,
can't be trusted. He's bringing a horrible element of toxicity to the locker room. He doesn't have a brotherhood and allegiance to his teammates. How can they trust him? And if you can't trust him, then how can you play well with him? That's my thing.
fair.
He has shown he was on a team with Tom Brady. And Tom Brady, I have heard, is the team's player. He's a team player. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So if you ruin something with him where he's taking you to his house, done everything you can for him, and then you still do something like this, and they were trying to stop him, trying to talk him down, and he didn't want to be stopped. No, I don't think that there's anything that they can do. Like I said, if it is a mental health problem, then he has all the resources that he needs to get the help. But he has to be the first person to recognize it. A person that doesn't recognize it won't get help. It's like an alcoholic. You got to first recognize you got a problem to get the help. So I'm not going to feel sorry for him in a way of saying, oh, he has a mental health issues. We're supposed to say, oh, well, let's just be tactful. I forgot who that was. This guy said today. He posted on Twitter, and he said, his name is Doris Fountain, and he said, to all the
Mhm.
people making fun of AB in this situation is lame. Mental illness and CTE is real. Unfortunately, it's a real reality for a lot of us in the business. Instead of making fun of him and chasing clout, let's figure out how to give him the help that he needs. I understand that, but if you were not in football, if you were not worth all these millions of dollars and have the resources available for you, I mean, I'm sure the team has a lot that can help him. He has to recognize it. If he doesn't recognize it, he's done. Point
Yeah.
blank, period.
And I can tell you from the team perspective, these guys and us staff, there are psychologists that are in the building. You can go sit on the couch and talk to them. Almost every team has one. Okay. It's like if you're just having a bad day at work, instead of going and bugging one of your coworkers to bitch and whine about something, you just go into the psychologist's office. It's protected. You get it out, and now you're not ruining productivity of two people. So a lot of teams just do that now. It started with the Ravens about 10 years ago. Most teams have it now. But also, the health insurance that we carry as an NFL employee, we have a concierge service. Like, you call the concierge service, they tell you who you can go see outside the organization that you're covered medically. So there is zero reason, if you want the help, you can find it. And for the guy who said CTE is real, it is real. Absolutely. I watched Junior Seau commit suicide with it. Okay. Like, I
Ugh.
get it. But at the same point, in today's NFL, there's never been more of a point to address mental health than ever before in the last 3 to 5 years. So if they want it, it's there. And Antonio Brown, again, admitted in 2020, or said in 2020 he was in help. Well, if he would stayed in it for this long, I doubt we would have seen that outburst we saw on the field yesterday.
Absolutely.
And so therefore, that's why I said it was nothing but a contract ploy to get a new contract, because nobody was going to let him on a team. Nobody was going to let him on a team until, he admitted he was in treatment. Now, he didn't stay in the treatment. I'll guarantee you that, because of that outburst. Now, again, if he would have went in, like you said, Ryan, after the game or at halftime and quit in private, I might be like, you know what? The man's struggling. Kind of like Ridley down in Atlanta. He was struggling. He took the year off because he needed help. It was private. It was not on the middle of the field. It was not in New York on the biggest stage in the sports.
He didn't make it about himself.
He didn't make it about himself. He just said, I need to do this for myself and step away. There's other players so far this year that have done that. They said, hey, I need to step away from myself. And then they come back to the team when they get their head right. Cool. Like, I'm on board. I'm saying the way he did it, He deserves every ounce of what he's getting. So
Yep.
that's that. Now I'm gonna ask you a mom question real quick. I'm gonna ask you a mom question.
You're still my
goodness.
question. Go ahead.
I don't care. Okay, so as a mom, with your research and learning about football and talking, as a mom, would you let your children play football now with what you learned? Yes or no, and why or why not?
Absolutely, I'll let my kids play. I mean, it's whatever that they want to do. Like I said, my nephew played, and I'm very proud of him. He got an injury though when he was playing for the Mustangs, and he wasn't able to finish. But I would let them play. I think that you do what your heart desires. That's my thing. Even knowing all of this, I say do what your heart desires. I'm not going to stop them.
Well, I wanted to backtrack for 1 second because we have a lot of great comments in the section. I'd just like to say this one from Gladys was one that I really wanted to take a look at for a second because we were talking about like what would be a redeeming, kind of track for AB. I agree. Never looked for it. And like David said, it's way more accessible. And I'm not even old, right? Like I'm only 30 years old. My playing career didn't end that far into the future where I got to talk about the old days of me walking through 6 feet of snow. You know what I mean? Like I'm still
not like me.
new.
Yeah, I got it, Ryan. I saw that side.
Like you. You grew up in California. You don't know anything about snow, but but the point I'm trying to say is that like when I played, it was like a very stereotypical type of outlook to like be the tough guy, right? Like I've had concussions and I never got it checked. Like my junior and senior year of high school, I've dislocated my shoulders, each of them probably a good 8 to 10 times each shoulder. And like, I never came out of the game. Like I just popped that thing back in, you know what I mean? And I feel like things now are just so much more available. Like people have the ability to get help if they need to. And I don't know if it's to the point now where like everyone is obviously super comfortable with it, but I would just like to, just kind of urge to like take that next step. And I think that this is a great conversation for me, Double D, is because like, honestly, I played football. I love football. Like I always tell my wife, like, no disrespect to her because I love her more than anything in the world. But like football was the first love though. Like, let's not get that twisted, like I love the thing, man. Like I have always loved it since I was 8 years old. I'm not sure if I'll let my kid play football. I'm not sure.
Really?
If I have a son, I'm not sure because like I'm dealing just like my body aches, man. And like it's just like I don't think I have CTE, but like I get headaches sometimes, and like it's the repercussions just kind of looking back at it and like I don't know. And like honestly, like I feel like I was so football for so long that like I sacrificed other parts of my life, to be honest. Like I don't think I was a well-rounded person as well as I could have been. I feel like I'm better now, but like
you feel you're better now?
Well, no, I feel good now because like I have a great family. I have other interests outside of football that I didn't have when I was younger. But like I remember the day when I like couldn't play football anymore, and I played at a very small college because of like some things with shoulder injuries and stuff. But like I remember the day like I couldn't play anymore. I was just like, I don't really know what I like besides this thing, And football does not, and football doesn't last forever. Like We're talking about a 30-year-old man, right? And Antonio Brown that might be done playing football for the rest of his life. He's got a lot of life left in theory, which is crazy to think about. So just my 2 cents out there,
Yeah. I just would like for them to do whatever it is that they would like to do. I'm just a firm believer in that. I mean, of course I don't want them, shaking their ass for cash. But I mean,
But Mama, I enjoy it. It tastes good, Mom.
Look, you better talk to your dad. Don't talk to me about it. I don't want to hear. I probably, that is such a hard thing to say, when they're so tiny, because my babies are 2 and 3, but I just think that I would let them do whatever they wanted to do, whatever their heart's desires. But hearing you speak now, gives me a little pause. You know what I mean? So that's, it's always something to think about with children.
I have a 16-year-old son who is way bigger than I am. I mean, it's getting to the point when he introduces me as his dad, people don't believe it. Okay. They're just like, no, the milkman came around. So, but I never let him play. It was not the thing because he was a big, chunky kid and I knew he was going to be on the line. I brought him to the New York Giants one time when he was like 3 and Pat Flaherty, the all-line coach, was like, "Hey, Gregory, get in a stance." And he started showing him a stance, and Gregory's a lefty, and he got in a stance. Flaherty looked right at me. His eyes got all big, and I'm like, "No, Flaherty, you're not training my kid to be a center right now. No, that's not happening."
Wow. Okay.
But he never played. Gregory took other interests. Now he's regretting not playing because I got the text like just 2 weeks ago. "Hey, Dad, can I go to college and play?" He's like, "Do they take walk-ons that have never played before?" I'm like, "Your size, probably." But I told him him and I are gonna have to do a lot of drill work before he even gets there, because I mean, we're gonna train him up if he's really serious about it, because I can't let him just walk on and be like that. But no, I didn't want to say I woed him back, but I didn't encourage him to play.
Right.
Because like Ryan, I mean, from my football playing, I've had surgeries on my knees from my powerlifting days. I've had surgeries on my shoulders. So the big weight, everything that gets involved when you're moving all that, your body's just not meant to do it. It's just not. So, and a lot of people don't know proper techniques and everything. So, for me, I'm just like, let's save your brain. Let's go be a stockbroker. Okay.
Well, I mean, and reality is I know that I'm going to be a father that's going to let my kids make their own decisions. So like, I'm not going to stop my kids from, because I only have a daughter right now, but if I had a son, or if my daughter wanted to play, I mean, we're in a different world now, but if they wanted to play the game of football, I would not stop them. I just, if they asked my opinion on it, I would just, I don't know if hesitancy is the right word, but like, a lot of negative repercussions to it. Like I love this thing, man. Like I do this for a living. Like this is me, you know what I mean? Right. But like, it's a tough conversation. I think
Ryan, bring up Byron's comment really quick. I want to get.
It's a great point.
That's my nephew.
I had it up a second ago. Yep.
That's my nephew that I'm talking about that played for SMU. That's him.
Oh, that's him.
That's him. Yeah.
Well, and it's a great point, because I actually cover recruiting for Notre Dame on Sports Illustrated. That's my day job now. And you're absolutely right. For a lot of kids, that's how they get to the places they want to be. And hey, that was them. I can only speak for my personal situation. Is I was a lower level player who was not getting a scholarship because of just some circumstances. And for me, it was just like, I kind of just looked back and it's my own personal experiences. I was just like, man, I wish I would have went outside the box a little bit, I wish I would have tried some different things. But Byron, you're absolutely right. For a lot of kids, it is the means to get to where they need to be. Scholarships, potentially generational wealth. And I completely get that. And that's everyone else's decision, obviously. So
what's your take though? Wait, hold on. What's your take on this comment? Because it is a very true comment that sports in a lot of places is the way out.
Yes.
And
that is true. Sports in a lot of places. When you live in a town that doesn't have anything else to do but sports, and you can't see any way out, the only people that you have for Black people, we have to look at a lot of the people who we saw on television, back then, were like the basketball players, the football players. These are the people that we saw that made it out of these small towns, that made it beyond. Like you look at Michael Jordan, where he came from and where he went to. This is what we have to look up to. So when you think about Black people, you have to think about Black people in the take on that. It's like what the imagery was at the time. What we got to see is what we wanted to be. You know what I mean? So if we saw a basketball player that someone that looked like us on the screen, and they looked like they were doing well and they were doing their thing and going all these places, of course we're going to want to model ourselves around what we see as the idea of success. So I agree with that 100%.
Now, how do you feel as a society we should adjust our relationship with athletes in order to maybe help not create an Antonio Brown in because like I know in your post you were saying that this is a man that's been catered to, and it's true. When you're a star player, you've been catered to since you're 8 years old.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
People will say you don't pass classes, you don't do this. Yes, you do. And if things happen off the field, they get swept under the rug because they need you to play. It does happen 100%. So how do you feel? I'd love to hear your take on what you think adjustments should be.
I mean, I feel like adjustments should be when these kids do things that they, from the beginning, they need to be held accountable for it. Like you just said, you can't have a child that is flunking math and they need to pass math in order to play in this championship game, and you go ahead and give them the answers. You know what I'm saying? He's learning at that age that, okay, because of my ability to play this sport and because I'm good at it, I could get anything that I want. This starts at a young age. We have to teach them accountability for your actions. It really needs to be, if you do not study and do not pass this course, then you cannot play the game. You know what I mean? If we stop catering to these athletes because they are bringing in the people, putting the butts in the seats, they are the ones that are bringing in the money. If we stop doing this, then maybe we will get an adjustment in behavior, as far as the diva aspect on it. Now, I can't speak to his mental illness because, again, if he has one, he has to be able to recognize it for himself. But I would say for the diva aspect of it, if we continue to cater to these basketball players, football players, these players, and not holding them accountable for the things that they do, and also making them make the grade and stop just passing them, then it's not gonna it's just not gonna work. We're gonna always see somebody like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I feel like it's more likely that Antonio Brown actually does seek help if he's kind of out of the spotlight for a little bit. When he's
Right.
hit quote unquote rock bottom, right? Like I feel
Exactly.
like that's when that moment will happen. So I agree with that. Absolutely.
Well, I can't even be like little about how excited I am about this and about having you on and everything. I mean, this has been great for me. I could talk to you all night. I know, but I promised you it would be a half hour, and that's all I would take up your time.
Well,
and
I would like to say this real quick. We've had a great conversation in the chat. Appreciate everybody there. If you want to hit a subscribe on the YouTube video, we really appreciate that. Double D, I will say this. This may be my favorite interview we've done on this sports show right here. I'm telling you right now, because you came in here and you seemed like, oh man, I'm on a football talk show. What am I doing right now? And you killed it. And I mean, everybody in the chat's been saying it all night. Like just the quality of answers was fantastic, honestly.
Hey, I really appreciate it, man. I did some work, and I declare I did well. So I'm so excited. Thank y'all so much for having me on. This has been amazing. And, you guys really helped me because I was so nervous about it and getting invited to something and doing something different. And it makes me feel good that I came in and you guys were pleased with my, what I came up with.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to give you an
opportunity.
opportunity.
Have you back. We're gonna in the off season. Brian and I dive into some social justice stuff, women's in sports, women in different things. We love to do those shows in the off season when it's not so football heavy and we're not doing our normal stuff. Would you come back and do one of those shows with us?
Hey, just hit me up in the Instagram. You got me. Just hit me up anytime. I'm available. I record my podcast on Wednesday nights. Anytime after that, anytime around that, I am available.
Love it.
Oh, well, you heard it, Ryan. We got her locked in.
Well, I was about to lead into that. And W, I just kind of wanted to, before we let you get out of here, if you want to just shout out, like, where can people find you on social media that aren't followers of you already? Just throw out some of your plugs a little bit.
Yeah, you can follow me on TikTok at The Real Double D Mother, and you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Double D Mother, as well as Twitter. Everything is Double D Mother, where I am black and the news is always petty as hell, but I bet you by golly, wow, it's accurate.
I'm telling you, everybody's in the chat. Killed it. Really appreciate this again. We look forward to having you on. Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all so much. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
You too.
David, you did it, man. You did it. Congratulations. You did it, man. That was good. That was awesome. Because honestly, when you called me,
was gonna crush it.
When you called me though, man, like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like, there's a little hesitancies for a second because, like, we're obviously talking sports. I mean, I know we have different layers talking the business and the mental health side and all the different layers that we talk about with sports. But when you brought it up, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, it sounds interesting, but like, I don't know how it's gonna go. And it was awesome. Like, honestly, that was a lot of fun. Really was.
Yeah, no, the whole show was great. I mean, from Mike and obviously you and Mike, your relationships, it pours through the screen, and what's going on down there in Texas this weekend, giving these kids an opportunity, and then to dive into a little bit about Antonio and behind the scenes, how she takes it, how she looked into it, and the stuff she found out about it, because she really is a woman that does incredible research, and that's one thing I've always, me as a former scout and everything, I love the research of stuff. And when she does a news posting or something, it obviously is well researched and well thought out. And when I saw her do something on Antonio, I'm like, here's my nugget. Here's how I get her. Here's how I can get her on the show. So, but yeah, I'll look forward to bringing her back, and we'll do some social justice and different things about how she sees it, and give us her view on all that, and tie it into the sports world and what's going on, obviously, around football in these days. So I thank you for trusting me, and I thank you, and I thank Mike and Double D and Tiffany, everybody in the chat, from Gladys to your dad to her nephew to
Carol,
everybody else, Carol,
up in there.
yeah,
Yep.
that
Absolutely.
came in, participated, everybody on TikTok, that helped. Michelle and different people were over here. They were saying stuff and putting things in the chat. So I want to say thanks to everybody, because this was a great interactive show tonight, and I am very proud of what we put out this week.
Yeah, and again, people in the chat, thank you so much. It's always great when you just kind of get quick feedback and just interaction. And I want to thank Mike Riddleman, of course, Director of Scouting and Director of Player Personnel at the College Gridiron Showcase, which I will be down in Fort Worth, Texas in only a couple of days here. I want to thank Double D, of course, for bringing on the energy, the perspective. It was fantastic stuff. This is Mavs Sports Take, episode 70. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, Tuesday nights. Appreciate you all. Everybody have a blessed and great week.